Welcome back to Stock Pot 3 Part 4, and what I have here is 5.3 grams of mixed black platinum group metals from the Stock Pot 2 refining series. If you want to go back and review that, you can see how I got this metal, and it was only 5.3 grams, so I chose not to do a complete refining because it's such a small quantity. But what I plan to do is throw this in with what we recover from this stock pot refining, stock pot number 3, and come up with a total amount of metal from the two stock pots. These are the two solutions from part 3. What I want to do now is reach down in here, get a little bit of the solution on a piece of filter paper, and do a stannous test so we can gauge how much and what kind of metal we have in solution. It should just be platinum. That's more of a brown stain, so I'm thinking we might have more palladium in here. We'll see. Alright, let's do the other beaker over here. Get a little bit of the solution on our filter paper and hit it with some stannous. And that's looking a lot like the other test down here. This stannous test is looking real dark and green, and I'm not quite sure what I've got up here in this solution on the stir plate. I thought this was the DMG complex of platinum group metals only, but now I'm kind of concerned that we may have some gold in here. So what I'm going to do is I've got a tube here. I'm going to get some of this solution and transfer it into this tube. Okay, I'm going to reach down into this container and get a little bit of SMB in a scoop. And then what we're going to do is drop it down into this solution and see if we get a reaction, form any gold in here. Here we go. Just gonna let that sit and see if we get any gold coming out of solution. Alright, this test is inconclusive. You can see I've got something down in the bottom of there, but it does not look like gold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try a little bit more sensitive test. I'm going to reach up in here, grab a little bit of solution out of our beaker, put it in one of these cavities of this spot plate. I'm adding a few drops of distilled water to dilute this solution a little bit. I've got some ferrous sulfate crystals here. What we're going to do is add just a few of those crystals to this liquid, and if we've got gold in solution, we'll see a brown cloud form and stick. Ferrous sulfate is a very sensitive test for gold in solution. I'm going to add a few drops of gold test solution here to one of these spot plates. The concentration of that test solution is 1 gram per liter, so I'm going to dilute this by about half. That was distilled water that I just added. And I'm going to add a few crystals of the ferrous sulfate, and you'll see how this reacts with the gold. Alright, based on these tests, you can see how the gold precipitated out with the ferrous sulfate and formed a dark spot. I didn't get that with the platinum group solution that I have in this spot over here. And if you look at this tube, there's some kind of precipitate in there, but it does not look like gold. It looks like some kind of salt that formed with the sodium metabisulfite. So based on these tests, I think it's safe to conclude that we've got all of the gold removed from our solution in this beaker. This is the dissolved DMG precipitate that we got out in, I think it was part 2. For comparison, what I'm going to do is reach down in here with a piece of filter paper, get a little bit of this solution on there. Let's test it again with some stannous. See if this test has changed at all. Not really. Still fairly dark, but I'm going to conclude that we've got platinum group metals only in here based on the test for gold. I didn't see any active gold in our solution. Now that we've excluded gold in our solution, here's what that test looked like. It was real dark brown. I set it on a piece of paper, and now it's green, so that means we've got mostly palladium in here. What I'm going to do is filter this out now, both of these solutions, into a single flask. Alright, we're going to start with this because this has got the filter paper in it, and this will help plug up the filter paper in this funnel and help us filter out finely divided solids out of here. I'm going to use hydrochloric acid to rinse it. I don't know if this is essential or not, but I'm scared to put water in there. Might change some value and create problems for us. I'm adding a little bit of this liquid from our test. It's going to have platinum and palladium in it. I don't think there's going to be any problem with adding this into our main batch. I think it's okay to start adding the solution back here that we reduced. If you look in the bottom of this beaker, I've got some crystals that have formed some kind of salt, and not quite sure what that is. We might leave that out of our process if I can. The filter is slowed way down, and that's not a bad thing because we do not want a bunch of particulate going down into our solution down here. And with the filter being clogged up like this, that'll ensure that most of the solids that are in this will get trapped in the filter. Platinum does not like to precipitate from a dilute solution, so we want to keep this as concentrated as possible. All of these small amounts of miscellaneous platinum group metals in solution that I have back here, I've got some in this beaker back here, in here. I've got a jug from yesterday in part 3 with a little bit of soup left in it. And what I'll do with all those remnants of platinum group solutions is just add them back in to the stock pot. I've weighed this beaker and written the weight right on the side of the beaker so we can get a weight on the metal when we get done with our next step. This reaction took about 45 minutes. I've got one lone piece of zinc left that needs to dissolve completely. We've got our platinum group metals in here as a fine black powder on the bottom of the beaker. So this is looking real good, man. This is progressing much nicer than I thought it would. Here's our precipitated black PGMs. And what I need to do now is get this solution off of here. Otherwise, it'll try to go back in solution on me. That's just the nature of the platinum group metals. Here it is, man. Our platinum group metals cemented on zinc. Gorgeous. I've got some hot distilled water here. I'm going to do several rinses with some hot distilled water and try to get the acid rinsed off of this material. Look how quickly it settles, man. That's because we had it concentrated when we did the zinc precipitation. Highly concentrated solution precipitates out is nice, thick, clumpy metal like this. And that's what we want. Otherwise, it'll suspend in the solution and like ink, it's hard to separate. Ouch. Hot water. Beautiful. Oh my goodness. This is looking really, really good. Look at that, man. That's our black PGM powders. I've been rinsing the black powders with distilled water, hot distilled water. If you look over here, you'll notice that we've got some color in this solution, and that's some of those metals in there trying to go back in solution. So that's why we got this acidic solution off of our black powders here. Stick a piece of pH test strip in here. I'm starting to kind of freak out a little bit because this refining is going so smooth. Usually it takes a lot more water to rinse all that acid off of our black powders. Once I get the acid rinsed off, and you can see it's pretty much done here, pH of 7. Once I get all the acid rinsed off, it's safe to conclude that all the zinc has been rinsed off of here. This will have a little bit of platinum group metals in it. I'll add this to the stock pot. Let's pull this heater down here. Start adding some heat. I'm going to pour this last rinse off into our waste container back here. And then what we'll do is we'll dry this powder so that we can get a weight on it. That's going to be critical for the next step. Here we go. We're going to dry this powder now. Our black powder is dry as a bone now. Let's go in and get a weight on it. Okay, let's get a weight on our dried black powders. We got 274.7. That's 274.7. So we've got 5. 14 minus 8 is 6. 6 might have 6.5 grams of black PGM powders. All right, we've got 6.5 grams that we recovered from stock pot 3. This is from stock pot 2. It's 5.3 grams. So if we add those two together, we're going to get almost 12 grams of metal. And that should make a nice refining. And we'll do that in part 5. This will conclude part 4 of stock pot 3 refining. Thanks for watching.